Hey guys, KK, and thank you for joining me on a new video on this channel. In the previous video we imported our height map and our landscape masks for our landscape. If you've not seen that video, I'd highly recommend going watching it, as we are following on from there. But in today's video we are going to be actually creating our landscape material, in which we're going to blend our landscape layers together based off the masks that we imported and assigned to our layers. So yeah, let's get straight into it. Before we move on, actually, you'll notice I have got a new landscape. Over the past few videos in this series I've been talking a bit about Gaia and how I'm experimenting with it. Well, this week I did actually purchase it, and I purchased the indie license, and I've created a new landscape, as you can see here. And I've also added in the masks for this landscape, even though it's a different landscape from my previous video, and there's probably one or two more masks. The actual logic that goes behind it and the workflow is exactly the same, and it does follow on from the previous video, so don't worry about that. But what I want to do is get straight into the video and start showcasing how actually easy it is to start adding layers to your landscape on these masks. Each colour you see here is a mask. All I've done is colour coded them here with these vector 3 nodes, and just inputted them with the set material attributes. We did this in the last video, so you should be familiar with that. But as you can see, I've added these various colours, and these are the masks that have been imported. Some of them are different colours, that is just due to the mixture of colour, which does happen with masks, but I'll showcase that later on in the series. So yeah, let's get straight on to it. Before we move on, what I have done in this video, because I don't want it to be like a 3-hour long video to showcase how to do it, I've actually created secondary, shall I call it secondary? I've actually created secondary videos to this main video, which will become apparent. They'll become links at the top here of where I've created these smaller videos which showcase how to create certain functions that we're going to be using in this video. So hopefully this way helps, because I just don't want a big 3-4 hour long video showcasing how to build material layers and stacked functions and blending material layers and all this good stuff. I just want to showcase in here building the actual landscape material, and once it comes to the point of where we use a specific function, I'll then link the video at the top here for that short video where to create that specific function. So what I need to do is just get rid of these first, and I am going to drag my first function in now, which is a layer stack. Essentially the layer stack here is just it's the landscape layer node. So if I put landscape layer blend node, I just add various layers to, as you've previously seen on this channel. That is essentially what this is, but like I say, the link is there. Click on it and it will showcase how to create this layer stack. But yeah, I'm going to save it to be safe. And this layer stack is going to help us to apply our layers to our mask. So what I want to do first is come off my ground primary. I'm going to use the reroute node for easeability. So if I click on reroute and just type ground primary, like so. If you're unsure what a reroute node is, it just basically reduces the amount of all these noodles that you get like this that start going all over a material. It just keeps it all neat and tidy. It's very useful and very handy. To get one, if you didn't witness that, just drag off your mask output of the layer stack and let the menu open and just type RER, and you want the add named reroute declaration node. Just click on that. It's going to be ground second, like so. It's fairly similar colour, but never mind. Next we need the flow, so reroute again, the declaration. I'll just call this flow. Yeah, just keep it at flow. That'll do. And we're going to do the rest of these. You'll see that I have a ground primary mask and a ground primary. In that other video, you'll notice why. So I'm going to go off the height flow now. I'm going to go reroute. Press up. Height flow. Like so. And then we need the slope base. So reroute node. And then we're going to put slope base. Like so. And then the slope main, which is this, reroute and slope main. Like so. And now all our declaration nodes are ready. I'm going to highlight this and comment it and just call it layer stack. We'll change the font to 25 and just give this an arbitrary random colour. Make that dead bright actually. And as it stands now, we have our layer stack set up within our landscape material. What shall I use next? The blend layer. So I've got a blending layer function here. At the top right about now, you should see the link for the video in which we created this layer blend function. So pause the video, well I say pause it, I'll just switch it out. Go and watch that video and then come back to this video and we can move on. So I'm going to drag this out as our output. What I'm going to do, I'm going to structure this in a way where the closest one to the out pin of the landscape material is going to be the last one. So for that I need my slope main material layer, and also with this you can see here I've already got layers set up. I've created a master layer, and I tell you what, around about now you'll see the link for how to create this master layer. And then what I've done after that is I've just basically duplicated this layer and changed the name from layer to the name that I'm going to be using. But in that video it showcases it, so go and check that video out. So what do I need? My slope main. So I'm going to drag my slope main material layer into here, and I'm going to fire this into the top material because I want this to be on top. And my base material, if I duplicate this, my base material will be the next blended layer. And my layer mask. My layer mask will be this, so slope main. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to right click, you'll see name reroutes are here. If you just click that drop down, and you'll get your reroute nodes that we just created. Just drag that into our mask input, like so, and then from, let's keep this a little bit neater and tidy. Move that up here a bit actually. Do this. And now we need to give this a scalar parameter, so SCAL, and you'll want a scalar parameter. Let's change the name, and we're going to call this slope main blend. I'm going to give a default of 1 for that. I'm not going to set the minimum maximum because I would be going forever in this video. I'm going to give it a group, and I'm going to call this landscape blending, like so. And just leave the order for now. We may sort that out in a bit. So I'm going to highlight these and comment it and call this slope main. This is all to do with just good organisation. It's very important that you do this when creating materials. I'm just going to give this a pink, like so. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to move that layer up a little bit. Double click on this base input and do this, and then now we can clearly see where that's coming from. Okay, so after my slope main, I want the slope base. This is the tedious work side of things, but it's got to be done. So I want my slope base material, which is here. We're going to duplicate this layer blending. We're going to drag this into the top material, and this is going to go into the base. We'll pull this up a little bit. I'm going to do this early on now. Right, so just do that. There you go. What I need now is my mask. So this is going to be my slope base. So come right click, come to named reroutes and go to slope base. And here is our reroute node. Right, so we're going to drag off this scalar parameter. We're just going to rename this to slope base blend. Like so. I'm going to give a default of 1 again and landscape blending for the group, and we're going to highlight this, comment it and call it slope base. So 25 on the font size, and we'll just give this a random color like this, and that is it. And this is essentially what we're doing now for all our layers. This is how easy it is when using masks. So this is basically, if you've been following along in this series, you'll easily understand why this is happening this way. I'm going to drag this under here. I'm going to put it back here. So next I need my height flow. Like I say, I'm going to speed the video up while I do the rest of the layers, but from these two layers here you can see the direction we're going in. If you want to pause the video and then watch the time-lapse side of it, it's up to you. But yeah, I'm just going to fly through and create these layers. Oh, okay. So I've just time-lapsed that up a little bit. We've got a nice little chain going on here with our different layers in. You'll notice I've stopped here because ground primary is our last one. There, our last mask. And you can't, there's no other layers to blend it with. So the easiest workaround for this is just to blend it with itself. That's the easiest thing to do. It'll still work. So if I highlight this, call this ground primary, like so, change the font size that we've done throughout the video, and we'll just give this a nice bright green for our ground. So that is basically what we do. We just blend the same layer together because it'll have no effect. But essentially, as it stands, let's move that layer start to here. As it stands, this is how you would create a landscape material for a masked landscape. Struggle with that word. If I hit apply now, just let this build. That didn't take much building, but if I come to my landscape now, you'll see that each of our masks that we had at the beginning of the video have now got their own textures on. Obviously, prior to the video, I've gone through my layers here and put different textures in each layer. What I've done there, let's go to build worlds, we'll go to textures. You'll see I've got my textures here. What I've done, this will work exactly for you, as I stated in the video about building the landscape layers. You can import your textures from Bridge and just put them into each layer, and it'll still work fine, but you may have to swap around the ambient occlusion and roughness. This is just my workflow. I like to import them in the standalone version of Bridge and then just stack them myself. That way, the reason I've done that is in other videos you'll see in time that I do stack multiple textures into one texture map. As it stands now, just for landscape layers, it's just the same as Bridge, but if I'm using a bigger material, like it's got a cavity and a detailed normal map and all that, I can just stack them all into one texture and end up with about 3 textures. But yeah, if you're having problems as well, I do have a video on this. Don't forget these texture samples here, to set them to shared wrap in case you can't paint with that layer. That's just a little tip. But as it stands, each material layer you can see is on its own little mask. Obviously the tiling is not great, and the actual textures themselves are probably not in the right situ for what I'm looking for. But as you can see now, the power is obviously there. I've opened my material instance by clicking on the landscape and double clicking this, and that will open my material instance like so. And from here you can see that they are set to 2. I've already been playing around with the blending when creating the actual blends. Let's just set these back to default so we can showcase it. Just in case yours is a little different, because I actually have rehearsed this video before today. But as you can see now, this is something you may come out with. That's just down to your UVs. But you can, so if I get my slope main and set this to 3, you'll see my texture is getting a lot larger. The blending here, this is like my ground base, I think, or just my ground. That is due to the landscape not having a slope detection, and that's it, yeah. But you just need to play with your tiling a little bit. So slope base, so if I put that to 5, that's not really done anything. That's down here, I think, somewhere. This is the slope base, this green stuff here, for some reason, I think it is. But you can also change your blending here. So if I change these to 2, so maybe that one. Just trying to find where this one is. There you go. It had to be the last one, didn't it? If I put 0, you get a decent blend. The higher I go, so 50, that's how sharp it becomes. So 0.1, the blend is really nice. And you'll see here it's blending, let's slow this camera down a bit. It's blending with this gravel right here. It's like a really nice blend all together. It's just this on top, which I need to do with the slope detection. So that's all we need, some slope detection and to sort the tiling out, which I think we will do in the next video. But as you can see, the masks are working really well. I wanted to create a water shader to put in the flow here, but I think that is for a couple of videos on its own. But yeah, as you can see, our textures are applied to our landscape really well. Obviously the tiling is repeating, that's just little niggly things we can sort out in the future. But yeah, as it stands there, I am very happy with what has happened here. I hope you have got the same results. If you have not got the same results, then don't hesitate to leave a comment or join the Discord and ask me as many questions as you want. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe the videos, as there will be plenty more coming. Thank you.